The great chamber of the Galactic Council sat at the heart of Axis Prime, a massive station floating in neutral space where no empire held claim. 47 species sent their representatives here to argue, negotiate, and occasionally make decisions that shaped the future of known space. The chamber itself was a wonder of engineering. Thousands of seats rose in circular tiers around a central platform, each section designed to accommodate the unique biology of its occupants. Aquatic tanks for the Veloci, heated alcoves for the cold-blooded Drathak, pressurized pods for the gas-breathing Munkari. Today, the chamber buzzed with anticipation. The matter before the council was simple but significant. The Drathak Dominion had formally requested authorization for what they called a protective intervention against the human species. High Councilor Morath, an ancient being whose species had helped found the council 3,000 years ago, called the session to order. His voice carried easily through the translation systems that made communication possible between such different forms of life. The Drathak Dominion may present their petition. Ambassador Cressix rose from the heated section of the chamber. He was tall for his species, nearly 3 meters of scaled muscle and cold intelligence. His eyes, yellow and slitted, swept across the assembled representatives with barely concealed contempt. Honored Council, Cressix began, his translator rendering his hissing speech into smooth diplomatic language. The Drathak Dominion comes before you with grave concerns about the species known as humans. In the past century, they have expanded from their home system to colonize 12 worlds in the Outer Rim. Their population grows at an alarming rate. Their technology advances faster than any species we have previously observed. He paused for effect, letting his words sink in. If left unchecked, humanity will become a threat to the stability of the entire galaxy. We propose a limited military action to contain their expansion and ensure they cannot threaten the established order. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Several species shifted uncomfortably. The Drathak Dominion was not known for limited anything. Their empire had swallowed 16 smaller species over the millennia, and those species no longer existed as independent peoples. High Councilor Morath turned his attention to the human section of the chamber. The human delegation may respond. Ambassador Helena Vance stood. She was small by the standards of most council species. Just under 2 meters tall, with dark skin and gray-streaked hair pulled back in a simple style. She wore the formal uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps, dark blue with silver trim. Nothing about her appearance suggested power or threat. "Thank you, High Councilor." Her voice was calm, almost pleasant. "I appreciate the opportunity to address Ambassador Cressix's concerns." She smiled slightly, and something in that smile made several nearby delegates uncomfortable, though they could not say why. The Drathak are correct that humanity has colonized 12 worlds. We are a young species by galactic standards, and we are eager to find our place among the stars. We have established trade relationships with 17 species. We have joined the Council's scientific exchange programs. We have followed every protocol and regulation required of member species. Helena spread her hands in a gesture of openness. We pose no threat to anyone. We simply wish to live in peace. Cressix made a sound that his translator rendered as a snort of derision. Pretty words, but the council should examine the facts. He activated a holographic display that appeared above the central platform. Human military capacity. 200 warships of various classes. 2 million ground troops. Orbital defense platforms around their major colonies. The numbers hung in the air, glowing softly. Compare this to the Drathak Dominion. 3,000 warships. 50 million soldiers. The outcome of any conflict is not in question. We are not proposing conquest, merely containment. A brief military action to establish boundaries that humanity will respect. Helena watched the display with an expression that might have been amusement. The ambassador presents compelling numbers. I cannot dispute them. Humanity is indeed a small power compared to the Drethek Dominion. She paused, and again that strange smile crossed her face. I can only say that Earth would prefer peace. We will negotiate in good faith with any species that approaches us with honest intentions. But if we are attacked, we will defend ourselves. Several delegates leaned forward, expecting threats, warnings, desperate pleas. Instead, Helena simply sat down, as if the matter was of no particular importance to her. High Councilor Morith conferred briefly with the other senior council members. The debate that followed lasted several hours, but its outcome was never truly in doubt. The Drethek were a major power. Humanity was not. The Council could not afford to antagonize the Dominion over a small, young species that most members had barely noticed until now. The final vote was not for authorization, but for abstention. The Council would not support the Drethek action, but neither would it oppose it. In practical terms, this gave the Dominion everything it wanted. Cressix accepted the decision with cold satisfaction. The Drethek Dominion thanks the Council for its wisdom. We will ensure that humanity's containment is handled with appropriate care. Helena Vance rose one final time. For the record, I wish to state that Earth considers this abstention to be abandonment of a peaceful member species. We had hoped for better from the Galactic community. She gathered her materials and walked toward the exit, her small delegation following. As she reached the door, she paused and looked back at the assembled representatives. I hope you will remember this day, honored delegates. I hope you will remember that you had a choice. Then she was gone. In the chamber, delegates turned to other business, already forgetting the brief unpleasantness. The matter was settled. Within a month, perhaps two, humanity would be contained, and the galaxy could continue as it always had. No one noticed that Helena Vance did not return to her ship immediately. Instead, she went to a secure communications room deep within Axis Prime's diplomatic section. There, using equipment that the station's security system somehow failed to detect, she sent a single encrypted message to Earth. The message contained only 4 words. They've chosen. Wake the sleeping. Far away, in the frozen darkness of Europa, a moon of the gas giant Jupiter, something stirred. Beneath kilometers of ice, in caverns that had been sealed and forgotten for decades, lights began to glow. Systems that had been dormant for 40 years received power for the first time since their construction. In the main control center, dust-covered consoles flickered to life. Displays showed the status of thousands of systems, all reporting ready. At the heart of the facility, a massive door began to open, revealing a cavern so large that its far end was lost in darkness. Within that cavern, row upon row of warships waited in silence. Not 200, not even 2,000. These were vessels that had never appeared on any register, never been counted by any intelligence service, never existed in any official record. And Europa was only one of many such facilities. Across human space, the same scene repeated, in hollowed-out asteroids, in the crushing depths of gas giant atmospheres, in stations hidden in the darkness between stars. Lights came on. Systems activated. Crews were woken from cryogenic sleep. The galaxy had looked at humanity and seen a small, young species with modest ambitions and limited power. They had seen exactly what humanity wanted them to see. The truth was different. The truth was waking up. On Earth, in a bunker buried beneath mountains that had once been called the Rockies, Admiral Sarah Chen received confirmation that all primary assets were online. She was old now, nearly 90, but her mind was as sharp as it had been when she first proposed the Sleeping Fleet Doctrine 6 decades ago. She had been young then, a junior officer who had studied human history and drawn uncomfortable conclusions. Every powerful nation in Earth's past had eventually faced the same problem. Neighbors saw strength and felt threatened. They formed alliances. They launched preemptive strikes. Strength invited destruction, but weakness invited conquest. So humanity had chosen a third path. They would show the galaxy weakness while building strength in secret. They would be friendly, cooperative, harmless. They would make themselves easy to underestimate. And when the inevitable attack came, they would be ready. Admiral Chun looked at the status displays showing fleet after fleet coming online. Carriers the size of small moons. Dreadnoughts bristling, with weapons that human scientists spent decades perfecting in hidden laboratories. Troop transports carrying soldiers who had volunteered for decades of frozen sleep, waiting for the day they would be needed. 200 warships, the galaxy believed. The true number was closer to 16,000. Chun allowed herself a small smile. The Drethik had no idea what they were about to awaken. None of them did. Webb considered the question. We're a young species, Commander. Young and small and surrounded by empires that have been conquering each other for thousands of years. The awakening of humanity's hidden military was not a single event. It was a wave that rolled across known space, revealing secrets that have been kept for generations. From the asteroid belt of Sol came the first great surprise. What intelligence services had mapped as mining operations and ore processing facilities transformed before watching sensors. Asteroids split open like eggs, revealing the warships hidden within their cores. Carriers larger than anything the galaxy had ever seen emerged from the darkness, their hulls still bearing the rock camouflage that had concealed them for decades. From Jupiter's orbit came the second surprise. The research stations and fuel harvesting platforms that had operated openly for years began disgorging smaller vessels, but these were followed by something else. Rising from the crushing depths of the gas giant itself, where no species had ever thought to look, came dreadnoughts. Their hulls were built to withstand pressures that would destroy ordinary ships, and their weapons were designed on principles that Galactic Council scientists would study for years. From Saturn's rings came swarms of automated defense platforms, tens of thousands of them, hidden among the ice and rock. From the Kuiper Belt came silent hunter-killer ships that had drifted in the cold darkness, their crews in cryogenic sleep, waiting for the signal that had finally come. And from the space between stars, from the empty void that connected human colonies, came the ghost fleets. These were the oldest of humanity's secrets, ships that had been built, crewed, and launched decades ago, then ordered to drift in the darkness until needed. Their crews rotated through cryogenic sleep, a few awake at any time to maintain systems and monitor communications. They had waited 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Some had waited 40 years for this moment. Now they were all awake. Now they were all moving. On the Drethak colony world of Vethrix, a minor outpost far from the front lines, the population went about their daily lives without concern. The war was far away. Their defenses were adequate. There was no reason for alarm. Then the sky filled with human ships. Not attack ships. Troop transports. Heavy landers. Supply vessels. An entire invasion force that had crossed light years of space without being detected, using routes and navigation techniques that should have been impossible. The garrison commander had exactly 6 hours to consider his options before the first landing craft touched down. He chose surrender. It was the wisest decision he ever made. Across Drethak space, similar scenes played out. Human forces appeared without warning, bypassing defended positions to strike at vulnerable targets. They moved with a coordination that suggested decades of planning, which was exactly what it was. Commander Vorak, now a prisoner of war on New Valentia, watched the reports with grim fascination. He had dedicated his life to military strategy. He understood campaigns, logistics, the mathematics of war. What humanity was doing should have been impossible. Sergeant Webb visited him occasionally. The old soldier seemed to feel some responsibility for his former captor, a strange human sentiment that Varric did not fully understand. "How did you move so many ships without detection?" Vorik asked during one such visit. "Our sensor network should have spotted you light years away." Webb shrugged. "You designed your sensors to detect the things you expected to find. Engine signatures, energy emissions, communication signals. Our ghost fleets don't use conventional engines when they're drifting. They don't emit energy. They don't communicate. They're just cold metal floating in empty space. For decades." "For decades," Webb confirmed. "It's not comfortable duty. 6 months awake, then 2 years in cryo. Knowing that if the signal never comes, you've spent your life waiting in the dark for nothing." Vorik tried to imagine it. Volunteering for such service. Choosing to spend years frozen in the void on the chance that someday your species might need you. Why would anyone agree to such a thing? Webb's expression grew distant. "Because we remember our history, Commander. We remember what happens to species that can't protect themselves. We've been conquering each other for thousands of years before we even reached space. We've seen civilizations rise and fall. We've seen what the strong do to the weak." He met Varric's eyes. "We decided we would never be weak, no matter what it cost us." In the Galactic Council chamber, emergency sessions had become permanent. The Council remained in continuous debate as reports flowed in from across Drethak space. Human forces had eliminated 80% of the Dominion's military capacity in less than 3 weeks. The remaining Drethak fleets were retreating to their core systems, abandoning occupied territories and former conquests. Ambassador Helena Vance appeared before the Council in person, having traveled from Earth aboard a ship that was now officially listed in human fleet records. She walked to the central platform with the same calm composure she had shown throughout the crisis. High Counselor Morth addressed her directly. "Ambassador Vance, humanity's military actions have exceeded anything previously recorded by a Council member species. You have destroyed thousands of Drethak vessels. You have invaded sovereign Drethak territory. You have demonstrated military capabilities that you concealed from the Council for decades." Helena nodded acknowledgement of each point. "The Council demands an explanation. How did you hide such power? Why did you hide it? And what are your intentions now?" Helena was quiet for a moment, considering her response. "High Counselor, honored delegates, I will answer your questions honestly. Whether you believe me is beyond my control." She touched a control, and a holographic display appeared above the platform. It showed a timeline stretching back over a century. 112 years ago, humanity made first contact with galactic civilization. We were young, naive, excited to join a community of intelligent species. We believed we had found friendship and partnership among the stars. The display showed early human diplomatic missions, smiling faces, hopeful declarations. Within 5 years, we had learned the truth. The galaxy is not a community. It is a competition. Species rise and fall. Empires expand and collapse. The strong consume the weak. This is not cruelty. It is simply reality. She moved to the next section of the display. We studied galactic history. We found patterns. Young species that revealed their full potential were destroyed before they could become threats. Young species that appeared weak were conquered and absorbed. There seemed to be no path that led to survival. "So you created a third option?" Morth said. "We created a third option," Helena confirmed. "We would show you a version of ourselves that seemed manageable, friendly, cooperative, non-threatening, a small fleet, a modest military. Nothing that would trigger the defensive alliances that have crushed so many rising powers. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of delegates from dozens of species. Meanwhile, in secret, we built our true military. Hidden facilities. Silent fleets. Forces that existed nowhere in any record, crewed by volunteers who knew they might never be needed, but prepared anyway. We hoped, genuinely hoped, that we would never have to reveal any of this. But the Drethak forced your hand, Ambassador Kresic said bitterly. He looked diminished now, his scales dull, his posture defeated. The Drethak made a choice, Helena corrected gently. They looked at our small fleet and our peaceful diplomats and decided we were prey. They were wrong. She deactivated the display and folded her hands before her. Now you ask our intentions. This is fair. You have seen what we can do. You deserve to know what we plan to do. The chamber was absolutely silent. Humanity has the capability to destroy the Drethak Dominion completely. We could reduce their homeworld to ash. We could hunt down every surviving ship, every scattered colony, every refugee vessel. We could make them extinct. She paused, letting the weight of this statement settle over the delegates. We will not do this. Confused murmurs rippled through the chamber. We are not conquerors. We never wanted to be warriors. We built our fleets for defense, not offense. Now that we have defeated the Drethak military, we have no interest in slaughter. Helena produced a data crystal and placed it on the platform before her. These are humanity's terms for ending the conflict. Complete Drethak disarmament. Their military will be reduced to defensive forces only, monitored by independent observers. War reparations to be paid over a century, calculated to rebuild what they destroyed without crippling their civilization. A formal admission of unprovoked aggression entered into council records. She looked at Kresic. In exchange, humanity will withdraw from Drethak space. We will not occupy your worlds. We will not enslave your people. We will not take revenge for our dead. Kresic stared at her as if she were speaking a language he could not understand. Why? You have the power to destroy us. Why would you choose mercy? Helena's expression softened slightly. Because we remember what it means to be conquered, Ambassador. We remember what it means to have our futures stolen by those stronger than ourselves. We fought so hard to become strong, precisely so we would never have to inflict that suffering on others. She stepped back from the platform. Humanity is not your enemy. We never were. We only wanted to be left alone to build our civilization in peace. Your dominion refused to allow that. Now you have seen the consequences of that refusal. A voice hardened Jay. The council deliberated for 6 days. During that time, the Drethak Dominion's military effectively ceased to exist. Human forces did not pursue fleeing ships. They did not attack vessels that surrendered. They did not bombard cities or massacre civilians. Instead, they moved methodically through Drethak space, systematically destroying every military installation, every shipyard, every weapons factory. They were surgeons removing a cancer, precise and thorough. Drethak civilians watched in confusion as human ships entered their systems, ignored their population centers, and focused entirely on military targets. This was not how wars were fought. When the Drethak conquered other species, they broke them. They destroyed not just armies but cultures, remaking the defeated in their own image. The humans seemed interested only in ensuring the Drethak could never threaten them again. Beyond that, they showed remarkable restraint. On the 6th day, High Counselor Morath summoned Ambassador Helena Vance to receive the Council's response to humanity's terms. The chamber was packed. Every species with representation had sent their delegates, and observers from non-member civilizations filled the galleries. This moment would be studied by historians for millennia. Everyone wanted to witness it firsthand. Helena entered alone, walking to the central platform with the calm dignity that had become her trademark. If she felt any anxiety about the council's decision, she showed no sign of it. Morith rose to address her. He was old, even by the standards of his long-lived species, and he had seen much in his centuries of service. But nothing had prepared him for this. Ambassador Vance, the Galactic Council has considered humanity's terms for ending the current conflict. He paused, and for a moment, the weight of history seemed to settle on his narrow shoulders. Before I deliver our response, I wish to ask you some questions. I hope you will indulge an old diplomat's curiosity. Helena nodded graciously. I am at your service, High Counselor. You have demonstrated military power sufficient to destroy the Drethic Dominion entirely. In galactic history, no species in such a position has ever chosen restraint. Empires expand. They consume. It is the natural order of things. Morith's voice carried genuine confusion. Yet you offer terms that allow the Drethic to survive as an independent civilization. Why? Helena considered the question. Because destruction was never our goal, High Counselor. We built our fleets to protect ourselves, not to conquer others. The Drethic attacked us. We have defeated them. That is sufficient. But surely you could claim their territories, their resources. Their former subject species would rally to you. You could build an empire greater than any in galactic history. We could, Helena agreed. But why would we want to? This simple question seemed to genuinely puzzle several delegates. Helena continued. Empires are expensive, High Counselor. They require constant military presence, administrative overhead, the suppression of rebellions. They breed resentment that festers across generations. The Drethic spent millennia building their dominion. What has it brought them? Fear from their neighbors. Hatred from their subjects. And now, destruction at our hands. She shook her head. Humanity has no interest in ruling over unwilling subjects. We want trade partners, allies, friends. You cannot make friends by conquering them. From the Drethic section, Ambassador Kresic spoke. His voice was hoarse, broken by days of desperate negotiations and the crushing weight of defeat. You expect us to believe this? You have proven yourself capable of deception on a galactic scale. How can we trust anything you say? Helena turned to face him. You cannot, Ambassador. Trust must be earned. We lied about our military capabilities because the truth would have led to our destruction. But we never lied about our intentions. We said we wanted peace. That was true. We said we would defend ourselves if attacked. That was true. We said we preferred friendship to conflict. That was true. She spread her hands. You chose to disbelieve our words and interpret our restraint as weakness. That choice led to war. Now you face a different choice. You can accept our terms, rebuild your civilization, and perhaps someday become our partners rather than our enemies. Or you can reject our terms and face the consequences. What consequences? Kresic demanded. You claim you do not seek our destruction. I said we do not seek your destruction. I did not say we will allow you to rebuild your military and threaten us again. Helena's voice hardened. If you reject our terms, we will continue our campaign until there is nothing left of your military infrastructure. No shipyards. No academies. No supply chains. You will be reduced to a pre-spaceflight civilization, dependent on the goodwill of your neighbors for basic technology. She let this sink in before continuing more gently. Or you can accept our terms. Keep your civilian industry. Keep your colonies. Keep your culture. Accept reasonable limitations on your military and pay fair compensation for the damage you caused. In 50 years,